Best of r/ Tales from Tech Support episode 143. Subscribe for edit videos daily. Why is it like this? TL. Doctor. Customer refuses to contact anyone before performing a data destructive maneuver they are unfamiliar with, doesn't read the warning, and then Shaked Pikachu meme. JPEG when something goes wrong. So, for background, I work for the largest PC manufacturer in existence, now as server support. I've posted here a couple times, nothing frequent, but I just had what I feel is the biggest rookie mistake that could cost someone their job come across my desk. So the call comes in from Tridge, and the agent explains to me that they're having issues adding 2 new drives to their RAID array. Cool, checks out, bring the customer over. The customer then proceeds to explain to me that they bought 2 new drives to expand their storage, and they wanted to turn these 2 drives into a RAID 1 to complement the existing storage pool on the RAID 10, but that they had tried to do this using the initial setup software, which, as anyone who's used our hardware to set up a RAID knows, is a bad idea, because it just blows off whatever VD is there, and recreates what you told it to. So I explained this to the customer, and he goes, "Fuck, why is it like that?" I then explained to him that the initial setup software is only for initial system deployments or decommissioning, and any other RAID restructures need to be done with our LOM software, or in another piece of software depending on what you want to do. I didn't tell him that he missed the part of the initial setup software, where it tells you it's data destructive, so I got him calmed down, confirmed he had backups, and explained that the only thing I could do is recreate the RAID 10 that he blew off, and create a RAID 1 for the additional drives that he had purchased. The RAID 10 had SAS drives, the RAID 1 was SATA, and his controller wouldn't let you combine across interfaces. He was cool with this, and I explained to him that once we do that, the only thing he needs to do is restore his data. So we get that done, and he tries to get the data restored, and can't do it. He has to call Datto and have them remote in and restore his data for him, because he has no idea how to do it himself. Yes, I get that mistakes happen. I get that he might have been new, and I get that he only lost an hour's worth of data, but that's the kind of hot dogging that will cost you and or your company hours or days of downtime, if not a metric ass load of money to go along with it. Thank you. Next. Following instructions is hard. Got a call this morning. A user, a lawyer in the legal department, need to install email software onto his personal phone to get his company email. Because it is the company's email, the security is fairly tight. He was not able to start the process. I asked him what step of the directions was giving him issues. He didn't have the directions. For your information, our old email app was being phased out and today was the last day to install the new app. I sent him the directions. He thanked me and ended the call. He calls back. He says he is not getting the QR code to scan into the app to install the company info into the app. I ask him about step 1 of the directions, which is him log into a website on his PC to generate the QR code. He said he could not sign in. I remotely access his PC and watch him try to sign into a picture of the login page included in the instructions I sent him. I click the link above the picture and he was able to sign in. The next step was to click a link within the web page to access the page that would actually generate the QR code. He again clicked on the picture of the link on the instructions. We eventually got the QR code generated to scan into the email app on his phone. I have no idea how this individual managed to graduate from law school and pass the bar. Apparently learning the law does not require anyone to possess common sense, which explains a lot about the criminal justice system in the US. Thank you. Next. It's company policy, i.e. how to get paid for doing nothing. I've been in a contract role doing IT support at a company for almost 2 years. Got on with everyone, did the job well, never any issues with the boss or colleagues. Great job, only 15 minutes from home and the pay was pretty good. I'd spent most of my last few weeks working on a schedule of upgrades to our email system, had booked in all users 4-hour-long appointments to upgrade their machines during the coming month, and was generally as busy as a normal IT department would be. No slacking off. Got pulled into HR on the 1st of December at 10 AM. Told that my contract wouldn't be renewed after the 31st of December and I now had 15 minutes to clear my desk and leave. They would however continue to pay me until the 31st of December, as per my contract. Why wouldn't they let me stay and work until then, tie up all the loose ends and carry out all the upgrades I'd scheduled with people? Company policy. I was shell-shocked as to why they couldn't trust me, and quietly returned to my desk, deleted a couple of personal files from my computer, gathered my stuff and managed to mumble CR to my 3 colleagues who were equally as shocked. My boss escorted me out of the building, and at the door I said I'd like to say it's been nice working here, but I can't right now, and stormed out, seething as there had been lots of people there I would have liked to say a proper goodbye to, have Christmas drinks with, etc. Plus I realized I had left my favorite mug behind, and damn it, I loved that mug, but there was no way I could go back in now. What upset me most was the feeling that people would have been talking about me as in OMG 40-something commuter must have been doing something bad to get escorted out. Within 5 days of job hunting I had a new job starting on the 3rd of January. Spent all of December relaxing, not having to slog to work through snow and ice and bad weather, and being able to see friends and family over Christmas without call-outs or weekend working. They replaced my contract role with a permanent role. I suggested to a friend of mine that I'd worked with before, that he should apply. He got the job. Joke was on them. I knew this guy was lazy, took multiple long breaks whenever he could and wasn't really very good at his job. He stayed with them about 3 incompetent years. Did him a favor as he needed a job, screwed them over as I knew he would be rubbish. Thank you. Next. How do you plug in headphones? I wish I was making this one up. I'm a senior network engineer in a school. Currently we are running a number of classes online via Microsoft Teams. Today I was sitting in my office, when a member of staff poked their head in and informed me that they had a Teams call scheduled later in the day. They weren't a teacher so they wouldn't be running it, but instead providing support. As they had never used Teams before, I showed them how it worked and told them they just needed to click the join meeting button when they were ready. I, foolishly, believed that was the last that I would see of them. 5 minutes later. User, does the Office desktop have speakers built in? Me, no it doesn't, but in the drawer next to it are a set of headphones with a microphone built in. Just plug them in and it'll all work. 2 minutes later. User, how do I connect the headphones? Now at first I think that maybe they're talking about default audio devices. The headphones are plugged in but not working or connecting to Teams. So I go to the office, explaining how to change the default device as I go. When I get there, the headphones are on the desk, unplugged. User, see, they aren't connected. I'm going to ignore the fact that they let me go through the whole explanation about default devices, without telling me that's not what they were asking about. If they're not familiar with technology I can understand that being a bit confusing. What I'm not going to ignore is the headphones unplugged on the desk. Me, so you can't connect them? User, yes. How do I plug them in? Me, you put the end of the lead in the headphone slot. User, me, the hole in the front of the computer. User, me, the green circle. User, me, next to the USB port. User, me, do you see the little drawing of the headphones? Thank you. Next. Inventory leads to theft reveal. It was requested that this comment be expanded upon into its own post, so here it is in all of my terrible writing ability. I'm not an IT professional and this whole event took place more than a decade ago. It was attempted to be recreated as best as myself and one of the other parties could while still maintaining anonymity. The company I was working for at the time was looking at selling. Before that can happen a full inventory had to be done. One of the IT managers, Jimmy for purposes of this story, was given the responsibility of checking all of the equipment we had in our various offices storage rooms, making sure that everything was accounted for and in working order. During the inventory Jimmy began to notice that over the last year quite a bit of our equipment was being damaged out but that nobody was signing the forms. Being properly concerned over this he went to our CTO Don with explaining that either someone was either lazy, or perhaps as a worst case stealing the equipment and reselling it. Allaying his fears Don told him he would get with the corporate security team and check the logs to see what was going on. Fast forward a couple months and all the general managers and heads of teams are flown into the main office for our end of year meeting and Christmas party. Mike, the corporate sec team led from my office, and I are hanging out down at the open bar making our appearance before we are allowed to leave when Jimmy comes over and asks Mike if he knows what happened to all of this missing equipment. Mike of course has absolutely no idea what's going on and tells Jimmy to email him all the information he has and he will look into it when we get back to our office. Mike hits me up about a week later and shows me this list of missing equipment and the stuff that just came from our office. Mike says he's already gone and checked the things issued to our people and that anyone who had one of the missing laptops was given a significantly older model. It was also during this check that he noticed some of our equipment was straight up missing, like a whole server and its rack that had been supposedly shipped to us from the main office right before we went to the party. Mike got with Jimmy and had him check the main office storage area where he found the missing server. Mike reached out to his boss about what was going on and grabbed a plane heading to the main office where he got with Jimmy and installed a GPS tracker that we usually used for our fleet vehicles, as well as some cameras both in the hallway to the storage area and focused directly on the rack. About a week later the rack was gone and Jimmy sent over the video file to Mike and his boss where it showed our CTO Don grabbing the equipment and loading it into a local delivery company. Jimmy checks for paperwork and all it shows is that server had still been delivered to our office. Of course none of this is evidence that Don was stealing from our company and not just shitty paperwork, so Mike's boss sends a couple guys down to Jimmy and has him check the tracker. Tracker shows it at a business not too far away. Mike's boss contacts the legal team and police and a happy little group of people all meet outside the business in question. Investigation ensues and the police determine that our CTO had been taking newer model laptops, some monitors, and various other equipment. He would fix it up at home and sell it to his buddy who was using it to build out his business that just happened to compete with ours. End of the day, Don got fired and arrested. I wasn't able to find any info on the sentencing, but as far as I know he got out after a couple years as it was non-violent. Jimmy got a promotion and Mike got a nice little bonus that quarter. Not that it mattered. Not much after the end of the quarter the sale of the business went through and everybody but Mike lost their job. Thank you. Next. The computer is broken. This happened a long time ago. Like 1981 or so. I worked as a student consultant assisting people with using university mainframe computer systems, but there is not a Tales from Student Consulting subreddit, so here we are. And the moral of the story, CTL. Doctor applies to tech support. Anyways, these were real mainframes, not mini computers. Most of the cases I handled were users of a Control Data Corporation, CDC, Cyber 17X Proto supercomputer. Designed by Seymour Cray before he left CDC to found Cray Computing, but I digress. This was in the days when you submitted your program to be processed, often on punched cards, and the results were printed on 11x 14-inch green bar paper, and delivered to you. The actors. $me, lowly undergrad hired to this job before my first day of class because I'd already learned the CDC compute environment while I was in high school by sneaking onto college campus and obtaining access and hacking away until I was quite proficient. $grad guy, grad student, older than me, English as a second language, in an unknown program, math, physics, don't know, scene. $grad guy, after waiting in line for assistance briefly, and my desk is free, walks up and plops down a 3-inch think printout on green bar paper of his Fortran program and its output. The computer is broken. $me, thinking but not saying, this is a mainframe shared by hundreds of people. I think we'd notice if it was broken. What? How is it broken? $grad guy, the computer is broken. I ran this program yesterday fine. Today, I did not change anything and it doesn't work. The computer is broken. I did not change anything. $me, trying to calm him down so I can get rational answers. Okay. Can you show me why you think it is broken? $grad guy, here, right here. Flips to bottom of 3 inches of green bar output and points to a line in the printout. This is not right. Yesterday, I did not change anything. It gave right output. $me, I begin winding my way through 3 inches of printout of his Fortran code which has produced this bad output. Eventually, after 5 or 10 minutes, I point to a single format line of code and say, here, this format statement, you must have changed this today. That is the only way I can see that the computer would have produced the output you are showing me. Did you change this today? $grad guy. Oh, that line of code? Yes, I did change that today. Picks up 3-inch printout and silently walks out of consulting office. No apology or thank you, of course. TL. Doctor, and the moral of the story. This was probably the first time I learned the first law of tech support. The customer always lies. Maybe not intentionally, though sometimes, but almost always. So don't trust what they tell you. I dedicate this post to the memory of Joe Tate, RIP, my manager in student consulting at the time, a few years my senior, and who hired me as the kid who was always in the terminal room and knew the systems and was helping out others in the room even though no one knew who he was, because I was not a student yet and was hacking. Thank you. Next. A sound snafu leads to IT sending the office to sleep. Hello, TFTS. My first ever post in here, so I hope I've formatted it okay. I'm relatively new to the world of professional IT, having previously only done tech support for friends, family and myself, so I'm still kind of learning best practice and all that good stuff. I got a job as tech support at a small regional airline just before we locked down for Corona. I'm extremely lucky they kept me on. I'm considered business critical because, while we're not flying much at the moment, there are still plenty of people working. Rather critically to this story though, some people who usually work at home are working in the office, and vice versa. However, it's not always obvious who is where at any one time. Anyway, that's enough boring preamble. Cust, $user, the user requesting my help $me, $user boss, the boss of the requester. It was a slow day in the IT office, as it kind of has been for the last 5 months. Suddenly, I'm called into action. A Teams message crops up. It's from someone I'd helped with a sound issue a few months ago. Their default output device had randomly changed to something else. $user, hey, I know you've helped me before. The sound thing has happened again. Can you take a look? $me, sure thing. I'll remote in now and have a look for you. I find $user's PC and set TeamViewer to work. I fiddle about with the sound properties. See, it's trying to play through the HDMI instead of the speakers, so switch it back and fire up YouTube to test my handiwork. Relaxing whale music is the order of the day. $me, there you go, should be working now. How are the whales? $user, nope, sorry, I can't hear anything. What whales? Haha, silly me. I must have forgotten to turn the volume up. I crank it. $me, how about now? $user, nothing. What whales? Oh no. I remember, $user is now working on a loaner laptop. Her usual desktop machine is being used by a home worker in the office. My desk phone rings. It's $user boss. $user boss, hello. Something weird is happening down here. One of our PCs has suddenly started blaring whale music and we're not entirely sure how to stop it. Can you take a look? $me. Oh, yeah, that's me. I'm trying to help $user, but I forgot she wasn't in the office. I'll kill the whales. $user boss and I share a good laugh about the whole thing. I find $user's laptop and fix the sound and everyone walks away happy and relaxed.